everybody. All right, today I'm going to talk to you guys about magical and spiritual uses of snow. It's wintry here in the Northern Hemisphere. I'm in the Midwest, and I'm not a huge fan of the winter at all. I really don't like being cold, but there is something pretty magical about the winter, especially when it snows. I'd be lying if I said that it wasn't a little magical. And and if it's gonna be winter, I kind of feel like I wish it would be snowy. Because when it's just cold, it's kind of like, what's the point? Anyway, so we're gonna talk about some uses of snow within our spiritual and magical practices. A lot of these uses of snow are also really similar to spiritual magical uses of rainwater, which I have a video, I'll try to remember to link it below, of 21 spiritual and magical uses of rainwater. So you can go check that out, because pretty much all of the ways that you use the rainwater, you can use the snow as well. Because you can basically... you can bottle up the snow and save it for later. Obviously, it'll melt unless you keep it in your freezer, which you can do that too. But you can definitely, when it snows, get a bottle, like a mason jar or something, and keep some of the snow in there. Make sure you label it. And then you can use snow year round. So even in the summer, you can work some snow magic, which is pretty cool. I also want to say too, if you live somewhere where it doesn't snow, you can do a lot of this work with just ice as well. Or even get rainwater and freeze it, and you can kind of do similar stuff with it. So just in case you aren't going to go watch the rainwater video, I'll kind of summarize some stuff a little bit. So when you're collecting snow for your spell work or energy work or whatever, the different types of snow can have different types of energy. So if it's like a blizzard out there, that's going to kind of have a little bit more of an intense energy. I don't want to say like aggressive in a bad way, but kind of a more aggressive, intense energy into the snow versus, when it's like the really soft, quiet, delicate, gentle snow, that's going to have a little bit of a different energy for you. So when you are gathering your snow, or you're going to be using snow for different spell work or whatever, just be aware of the type of snow you're using, because that can add extra elements and energy to your workings. Also, the moon phase that it is when it's snowing, the astrological phase that is currently going on. These are all different types of things that can just give the snow a little bit extra energy. So whenever you gather snow, make sure, especially if you're going to be keeping it for use for later, make sure you just put a little label on your bottle, kind of just whatever information you can put about the snow that you're gathering. Even snow from different locations can have different energetic effects. The snow from your backyard may carry a little bit different energy than the snow from, the forest or something. Or snow that you gather at the steps of a church may have different energy than snow that you gather from a cemetery even. I know a lot of people gather like grave dirt and stuff for their workings. You can also grab snow from a cemetery. Always be respectful if you are taking snow from other places. Oh no, something just popped up on my screen. Okay. Hopefully that didn't disrupt my recording. Okay. Anyway, obviously just be respectful of wherever you're taking snow. Maybe even leave like a little thank you to Mother Earth. I'm not really going to get into taking grave dirt and snow and stuff from cemeteries, but you want to be respectful. Anyway, moving on. So just make sure you know what you're doing. All right, so like I said, a lot of the uses for rainwater can be used for snow, so I'm not going to get too much into that. I mean, you can anoint your magical tools with the snow. You can anoint yourself with the snow, which is kind of cold. But go check out that rainwater video. I definitely suggest that. So here's some specific snow uses for your spells and spiritual work. So you can use snow or ice, or even just take water and freeze it for these kinds of things. For freezing a habit, so maybe you are trying to quit smoking, you can take like a bowl of snow or a jar of snow and write down on a piece of paper what you're wanting, like the habit you're wanting to freeze. and put it into the jar and put it into your freezer. Or if you don't have snow, you can always just put a piece of paper into a jar of water and put it into your freezer that way. And it will, the intention with that is freezing your habit. It's stopping the habit where it's at, freezing it so it can't get worse, and preventing it from affecting your life. Obviously, with all of these things, we want to do it with intention. You don't want to just like write on a piece of paper and put it in the jar and then that's it. You can even say some words over it after you put the paper into the jar. Maybe even say, with this snow, I am now freezing and stopping this habit in its tracks. This habit has no effect on my life any longer. It is frozen. It is done. Saying something along the lines. Some people really like to rhyme their spells. You can just put the energy into it. And again, even with the water from, you could use tap water if you want. Just infuse it with the energy and the intent and put it in the freezer, and there you go. Some people like the idea of, which I'm going to get into this spell in a moment, of melting, which I'll get into that in a moment. So also with the freezing aspect, if you are somebody that doesn't mind doing spells on other people, you can do freezing spells on a person. So these are really good, especially too, it's kind of like a binding spell. So if you have somebody that's really giving you a bunch of crap in life and you have just had enough and you want to just stop that person in their tracks from bothering you and kind of putting all their crap onto you, similar to the habit spell, you can write the person's name on a piece of paper, maybe write their name. If you have their date of birth, write that as well. And put that into the jar with the snow or the water to freeze and keep it in your freezer. And again, you would want to do that with intention, saying that I personally myself, I don't like to do, I have done some binding spells because I think that that's more just protective and I think that's standing up for yourself. But generally I don't like to do spells that affect other people's free will, but I also don't want to be walked all over. But so you could write the person's name and information on the paper and put it in the jar and say, it is now my intent to freeze this person in their tracks. They are no longer allowed to send negative energy and thought and intent in my direction. They are frozen. They can't do this any longer, and put that in the freezer. You can also do that with emotions too. So if you have some emotion that you are kind of really having a hard time dealing with, you can always freeze that emotion in its tracks. What? Phone ringing. I don't suggest necessarily freezing your emotions though, because I think it is important to deal with your emotions and face your emotions and work through them. But sometimes it can be a little difficult. So maybe you have an emotion that, maybe you're dealing with some grief or some heartache. You can freeze that emotion within the snow, and kind of putting it on a pause, putting it on a hiatus almost until you kind of are strong enough to deal with it. And at that point, you can take it out of your freezer and thaw it and kind of have a little ceremony that way of like releasing that emotion. So another spell that is easy to do with snow, and this is one that I did the other day, like last week I think, we had some snow, so I did this spell. Basically, you'll want to get a container, like a bowl or a bowl or even a cup or whatever, some container to keep the snow in. And then you're going to place your hands over the snow. You don't necessarily need to touch the snow because it's cold, but place your hands over the snow, and you're going to put your intention of whatever it is that you are wanting to release from your life. You're going to put that, infuse that energy into the snow. So maybe you are wanting to release, self-doubt. You're wanting to release, criticizing yourself, or you're wanting to release a bad habit. Whatever it is that you're wanting to release, infuse that into the snow. So if you are trying to release some anger even, put all of that anger into the snow. And then you're going to get a little tea light candle, and you're going to light that, and you're going to place it on top of the snow. And as the candle burns, the snow is going to melt. And this is basically melting away what it was that you infused the snow with. And the candles just kind of, it helps to light up your life. It helps to light up and illuminate the space that you are releasing in your life. And the tea light works well because as the snow melts, the tea light should hopefully just kind of float on the top of the water. If it doesn't, if you're doing this spell and the water happens to like overtake the candle, it's okay. It's not saying that like you're, what you're releasing is overpowering your life or anything. It's fine. But yeah, so as the snow melts, it's releasing what it is that you're wanting to release from your life. And then I am a big I think it's important to when we release something in our lives to replace it with something, because I think otherwise if we're releasing something, it's almost like we have that extra space within our lives and within our energy field and consciousness. And if we leave that open and empty, we kind of leave it open and empty for something we don't want to come back into that space. So I think it's really good when we release something to then replace it with something that we do want. So for instance, we used anger as the example. So we released the anger from our life. We are then going to replace it with, loving, calm energy. So after the ice melts, you then are going to, and hopefully your candle's still lit. Again, if not, it's no big deal. You can light it again. But on a piece of paper, you're going to write what you're bringing into your life. So you're bringing in loving, calm energy. You're then going to burn that paper and let the ashes fall into the water. And then when that is all done, you're going to just release that back out into Mother Earth to transmute the energy how she sees fit. This is such a really simple spell, but it's so powerful as well because we have the elements of ice, water, fire, and the earth. And even, I guess, technically air as well with the smoke from the burning paper. But it's a lot of transferring energy, transforming energy. And again, it's really simple, but it's really powerful as well. You could also choose to like place some crystals around your bowl or you're working while you're doing this. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. But it's you can use that spell for so many different things, and it's really awesome. And that's kind of all I have for some snow magic. There's other things you can do. Also, you could make a snowman and use that if you do any sort of poppet work or anything. You could use the snowman as a poppet. You could also write symbols in the snow, and kind of similar to the spell that we were doing, this would be just an even simpler version of it. Write a sigil or a symbol or a word or something in the snow, and as it melts, your whatever it was that you wrote on the symbol will come to fruition. Yeah, so there you go. I hope that gives you some good ideas on how to use snow within your spiritual and magical practice. If you use any of these, let me know. Tag me on social media, ShariceWilliams.xo on Instagram. I would love to hear about it or comment below. All right, have a good day. Bye-bye.